It's International Women's Day, and when the world celebrates the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, it also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Now, according to the World Economic Forum, true gender parity is still, get this, 217 years away. Wow. I'm joined by former prosecutor Debbie Hines. You've seen her. She's been here before. Ann Hedgepeth, she's the interim vice president of public policy and government relations with the American Association of University Women. Summer Hill, you've also seen her. She's a junior at Howard University. Jane Hall is an associate professor at the American University School of Communication. Ladies, and happy International Women's Day to all of you. Let's start with the positive. Let's start here. What are you excited about? You know, what are the accomplishments that we can brag about today?
Well, I think we're at a cultural moment. I think the Me Too movement, the Time's Up movement, I'm hopeful we are not going back. You know, we've had moments before and people have gone backwards. And I was just at the Women in the World conference last night with Christine Lagarde, who spoke there about economic parity and the fact that when you fix sexual harassment, you also empower women. They've got a new survey showing that. So I'm excited because I think women are stepping forward. They feel believed about something bad, and they also feel empowered.
Yeah. What are we excited about on the college campuses?
We're excited just in light of seeing Black Panther. We're excited to see Black women in roles of, higher position. And I think that's something that we need, just positive representation.
Well, women kicking butt in Black Panther or what? I mean, yes. What are we excited about?
Well, I think we're really excited to see we reached 25% of state legislators this year are women, which is a new high for us. And I think back to the earlier point is a reminder of this sort of time of action and engagement where I think women are really stepping forward and speaking out about things they care about.
Yeah. Debbie, what are you most excited about?
I'm just excited that this year is the most of ever in American history of women candidates running for office, because I think that's where the change has to be made on the political level. And I was just reading today, and I'll just say this, I'm just very excited that there might be, for the first time, an African-American woman as governor in the state of Georgia.
The civil rights icon, John Lewis, told me that 2018 is going to be the year of the woman. If he says it, I believe it. But let's talk about the work that has to be done, okay? You're concerned that there might be a stop or slow down in the movement. How much of that is on women to keep the foot on the pedal? I mean, to keep insisting. You look at Hollywood, they still seem to be fired up. Are most women fired up about this?
A lot of women are, and I teach a lot of young women at American University. They are fired up. It does feel like a change. When you have, as symbolic and glitzy as the Oscars are, they are still meaningful. When you have women being nominated for jobs for the first time, we have a long way to go. It's one of those things of, we've come a long way, we have a long way to go. Also, I sense among young men that there is this sense of being an ally. There is a sense of, this isn't right, this isn't fair. I don't want to be dominant over somebody. That's not the way you want to have a relationship.
Yeah, and the young men are listening to their mothers. But my question would be, well, what about the old men, the ones who have the power, that are being called on to share and make changes? What about them?
Well, I think that's a great point about who still leads so many of our workplaces and the reality that the inequities that still exist are in some ways a place where they need to step in hard to fixing things like the gender pay gap, where women sit on average at only 80% of their male peers, where we are one of the only developed countries that lacks a national paid family and medical leave standard or earned sick days for all workers. Those are real challenges for everyone, but they are also things that workplaces can remedy, that policymakers can remedy. And right now, in a lot of places, those are men who need to help lead the charge and not just look to women to make those changes.
Debbie, are you convinced that men in power, because a lot of men are not in power, okay?
Right.
Are you convinced that men in power are prepared to share, to give up, to make concessions?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we have to force that to happen, because men in power, I mean, that's all they've known. And particularly, let's be honest, white men in power, they're not going to just give up power. They're not going to yield power. They're not going to give up any of their salary to contribute. So we have to make that happen ourselves as women. We have to push that forward. And as one person said, in terms of young women, it's more younger women than there are older men.
True story.
Politically, is this a bipartisan thing we're talking here? or is it not?
I think it's bipartisan. Again, and if you look at the women running for office, there are a lot of young. I had a former student who ran as a Republican in a primary that had 18 candidates in Texas. A lot of Republican women, I would say, you know, would like to perhaps redefine some of the policies and some of the attitudes. A lot of other young women are running, frankly, because of Donald Trump. And so I think it's bipartisan in the sense that a lot of women are concerned about policies that affect women, affect children. Are they getting a hearing? And it's still, as you said, it's still going to be a matter of not just meekly asking. It's going to be a matter of saying, this isn't fair, this isn't legal, and it needs to change.
And I would also add, on the partisan side of things, AUW is advocating for pay equity laws across the country, and we're having success in red, blue, and purple states. The reality is there's a real appetite to close some of these gaps and to make the time now to really make a difference. And that's definitely not a partisan issue.
Now, I don't know if I agree that it is a partisan issue, bipartisan issue, because, I mean, we've seen that at least for the last election, it was 53% of white women that voted for the Republicans. I don't think that's changing just because of the Me Too movement and Time's Up. I really don't feel that. You know, you may have had a student that run, and obviously there are Republican women that are running, but I don't feel that shift on the right side.
Well, you know, we'll have to see. Because I think, you know, a lot of suburban women went, you know, in Virginia and other states, it may be the midterm elections are going to show that women who went for Trump are reconsidering that.
Let me ask you about the physical and the sexual harassment. Where does that go? That's got everybody's attention. So I'm going to start with you on the campus, you know, and then early on when you get into the workplace. You know, I think a lot of the victims in all this are the young people coming into the workplace. What's your mindset? Are you guys talking about this on the campus? Or what kind of tools are you getting?
No, we're definitely talking about it on campus. It's a really big issue because oftentimes we're not seen as a human, we're seen as property. So I'll be walking down the street and somebody feels the need that they can touch me, like, you cannot touch me, I am not your property, I am my own person. So I think that's a really big issue that needs to be worked out, and I think it can be done through, like I said, you said, whose responsibility is it? And the main thing is intersectionality. I read a quote that says, feminism without intersectionality is white supremacy. So we need to be sure that we can incorporate everybody, because white men, white women, black men, black women. So I think it's just following up the poll if we're able to, you know, use each other. Okay,
all right. Anybody want to wrap it up?
I would just say, and starting early too, I think about a lot of times when we get to colleges, we've seen a ramped up attention on things like campus sexual assault and other issues, but we also know that these challenges are facing students from day one at their educations. AUW did some research that saw a majority of kids in grades 7 through 12 experience this kind of harassment, and it's often, to your point, at the intersection of a number of different kinds of harassment.
Which goes to the point also, it starts with how we raise our children. Also, we've got to redefine parenting. Our boys have to.
And what it means to be a man.
Absolutely right. And what it needs to be a woman too. We raise our daughters to be princesses and everybody's going to love you, blah, blah. That is not necessarily true. Our daughters have to be tougher too. I know, I've got 3, okay?
And we have to bring in everyone. I mean, in terms of all socioeconomic groups. I mean, we're talking about Hollywood and colleges. We have to bring in everyone, because sexual harassment also occurs with the person who's working at Wendy's, McDonald's, and is cleaning hotel rooms. So that has to be a part of the movement as well.
Yeah, right. I've got 2 daughters, and soon we'll have a daughter-in-law. I'm going to be clear on that. Thank you all very much. This is a great conversation. Today we're